Hello guys, gals and non-binary pals, welcome back to Budget Brew with me, Lotus. And today we're doing a spooky special with Baba Lysaga, the Night Witch. And Baba Lysaga is 1 black-green for a legendary creature, Human Warlock. It's a 3/3 that has tap. Sacrifice up to 3 permanents. If there were 3 or more card types among the sacrificed permanents, each opponent loses 3 life, you gain 3 life, and you draw 3 cards. So in the deck we're going to try and sacrifice 3 different types, an artifact, an enchantment, a land, a creature, just to try and trigger our commander a few times and hopefully get through with either combat damage or drain them out with our commander with the physical life gain and card advantage it provides. But a quick word from our sponsor, Magic Madhouse. They have the Brothers War on pre-order now, so go over to the affiliate link down below and it will help out the channel, plus you get these sweet products all on pre-order at reasonable prices. And don't forget to share and subscribe, it means a lot. Now let's go into the thematic side of being Bewitched. We have a Cursed Witch for 3 and a black. Spells your opponents cast to target this cost 1 less to cast. Bit of a downside. When it dies, return it transformed under your control attached to target opponent, which becomes an infectious curse. Spells to cast the target enchanted player cost 1 less to cast, which is a better benefit, and at the beginning of enchanted player's upkeep, they lose a life and we gain a life. Chittering Witch is a 3 and a black for a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, we create a number of 1/1 black rats equal to the number of opponents we have. We can also pay 1 and a black to sacrifice a creature. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn to deal with some annoying threats. Sedgemoor Witch, 2 and a black for a 3/2 with menace. Ward, pay 3 life. But it has Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, create a 1/1 black and green pest creature token with, when this dies, we gain a life. Tempting Witch, again for 2 and a black. It's a 1/3 that when it enters the battlefield we create a food token, and we can pay 2 and tap and sacrifice a food for target player to lose 3 life. Thought Picker Witch is a 1 mana 1/1 for paying 1 to sacrifice a creature. Look at the top 2 cards of opponent's library, then remove 1 of them from the game. Vain Witch Coven, 2 and a black for a 3/3 with menace. Whenever we gain life, we may pay black. If you do, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Constantly being able to return creatures we've just sacrificed with our commander, because we'll gain life if we hit that 3 types. War Eye Witch, 2 and a black for a 3/2. When this or another creature you control dies, we scry 1. Witch of the Moors, 3 black for a 4/4 with Death Touch. At the beginning of your end step, if you gain life this turn, each opponent sacrifices a creature and you return up to 1 target creature card from your graveyard to your hand, again recurring what we've just sacrificed. And Witch's Mist, 2 and a black for an enchantment, 2 and a black and tap, destroy target creature that was dealt damage this turn. We don't have to have done the damage, it's just another quick way of removing some creatures. But to get all this out, we need some ramp. Coppermere, 2 mana 1/1, tap to add green to our mana pool. Why are we using this and not a Llanowar Elf? Well, it's an artifact and it's a creature, so it will count for 2 of the 3. Golgari Locket, so we can have card draw in the late game or ramp in the early. Ledamere is another 2 mana 1/1 that taps to add black, that's an artifact creature. Mycosynth Wellspring is an artifact that when it enters or is put into the graveyard, we may search our library for a basic land card and put it into our hand. We have Prize Statue is a 2 mana artifact again. When it's put into the battlefield or the graveyard from the battlefield, create a treasure token. Good old Solemn Simulacrum, it's an artifact and a creature that ramps and draws cards. Viridian Emissary is a 1 green for a 2/1. When it's put into the graveyard from the battlefield, search your library for a basic land, put it onto the battlefield tapped and shuffle. Yavimaya Elder, 1 green for a 2/1 human druid. When it dies, search up for 2 basic land cards and then put them in our hand and shuffle, but we can also sacrifice it to draw a card. Now we need some removal to deal with our pesky witch hunters, I should say. Attempted Murder. This is more of a flavour than I love Stormcrow. X black black. Sorcery. Choose target creature and roll a X 6-sided dice. For each even result, put 2 -1/-1 counters on that creature. For each odd result, create a 1/2 blue bird creature token flying named Stormcrow. It sounds like a silly thing that we've added it. However, it can remove creatures that are indestructible if we roll high enough. Also, it's creating more tokens that we can sacrifice to our commander. Baked into a pie, 2 black black, destroy target creature and make a food. Again, filling up our board for more sacrifice. Barrier Breach, my personal favourite. Exile up to 3 target enchantments or cycle it for 2. Crypt Incursion, exile all creature cards from target player's graveyard. We gain 3 life for each card exiled this way. Sometimes it's great just to empty someone's library just before a living end or something. Golgari Charm, black and a green, we get to choose one. All creatures get -1/-1 to end the turn. Destroy target enchantment or regenerate each creature we control. Putrefy, 1 black green for an instant, destroy target artifact or creature and it can't be regenerated. A Taste of Death, Snow White and the Poison Apple. With that witch, 4 black black, sorcery, each player sacrifices 3 creatures, we create 3 food. And the new Tear Asunder, 1 and a black for an instant, with kicker 1 and a black. Exile target artifact or enchantment. If the spell was kicked, exile target non-land permanent instead. Such a great card. And of course, Witch's Vengeance, 1 black black for a sorcery. Creatures of the creature type of your choice get -3/-3 to end of turn. Goodbye token strategy. Now we have cards that can self-recur to our commander's sacrificing antics. The new Cult Conscript is a 1-mana 2/1 that enters the battlefield tapped, but for 1 and a black, we can return it from our graveyard to the battlefield, but we can only activate if a non-skeleton creature died under your control this turn. Fortitude, 1 and a green, it enchants creature. When it's put into the graveyard from play, return this to its owner's hand, so it constantly hits our enchantment thing, but we can also keep replaying it after we've sacrificed it. But we can sacrifice a forest to regenerate enchanted creature. Gutter Bones, a 1-mana 2/1 that enters tap, and for 1 and a black, return Gutter Bones from your graveyard to your hand, activate this ability only during your turn and only if an opponent lost life this turn. And an old classic, Nether Shadow, double black. At the beginning of your upkeep, if it's in your graveyard with at least 3 creature cards above it, you may return it to play and it can attack this turn as soon as it comes into play, so it has haste. One thing I have to mention, graveyard order matters in this deck purely for that card. You cannot reshuffle your graveyard, you have to keep it as is throughout the whole game. Nether Traitor, double black for a 1/1 with haste and shadow. However, whenever another creature is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, you may pay black. If you do, return Nether Traitor from your graveyard back to the battlefield. Nim Devourer, 3 black black. It gets +1/+0 for each artifact you control. I'm not interested in that part. I'm interested in black black. Return it from your graveyard to play, then sacrifice a creature. Play this ability only during your upkeep. We can keep bringing this one back. Rancor, single green for an enchant creature. When it's put into a graveyard from the battlefield, return it to its owner's hand. Plus it gives +2/+0 and trample if you need it. Reassembling Skeleton, 1 and a black for a 1/1. Pay 1 and a black. Return it from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. And then finally, with the last 3 for this section, Sanitarium Skeleton, 1/2 for 2 and a black. Return it from your graveyard to your hand. A little bit slower, but still good. Silvermote Ghoul, 2 and a black for a 3/1, which has probably the best synergy we have. At the beginning of your end step, if you gained 3 or more life this turn, which hopefully with our commander we will, return this from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. 1 and black, sacrifice it, draw a card. And Spreading Algae, single green for an enchant land. When enchanted land becomes tapped, destroy that land. It's not so bad. Can only enchant a swamp. It's not that bad. When it's put into the graveyard from play, return it to its owner's hand. Now that that is useful. Repeatable Recursion. We have Beacon of Unrest. 3 black for a sorcery. Put target artifact or creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control, then shuffle Beacon of Unrest into its owner's library. Dread Return. 2 black. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with flashback. Sacrifice 3 creatures. Kargar Shadow Archdruid. 2 black-green for a 1/4. Whenever it attacks, it gains Death Touch till end of turn and mill 2 cards. That's reasonable. However, once during each of your turns, you may pay a land or cast a permanent spell from among cards in your graveyard that were put there from your library this turn. Liliana Heretical Healer. 1 black. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, exile this and return it to the battlefield transformed under your owner's control. If you do, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. But on the other side, we're hoping to ultimate Liliana. So when anything dies on our board, it will come straight back. We have Mere Retriever, 2 mana artifact creature, so it counts for 2. When it dies, return another target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. Nim Deathmantle, 2 mana equipment. The bit I'm more interested in on this card is whenever a non-token creature is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, you may pay 4. If you do, return that card to the battlefield and attach Nim Deathmantle to it. Also gives +2/+2 and Intimidate, and it makes it a zombie, but the recursion is what I'm really after. Ramanap Excavator, 2 and a green. You may play lands from your graveyard, so we can sacrifice a land to our commander hitting the 3rd type, but also we can replay them so we're not down on lands. Scrap Trawler, 3 mana for a 3/2. Whenever Scrap Trawler or another artifact you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, return to your hand target artifact card in your graveyard with lesser mana value. It's really weirdly worded. World Shaper, 3 and a green for a 3/3. Whenever it attacks, we mill 3 cards. When it dies, return all lands from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Rite of Return, 3 black for a sorcery. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped, but it has Cipher. Then you may exile this spell, encoded on a creature you control. Whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player, its controller may cast a copy of the encoded card without paying its mana cost. If we shove it on the shadow creature, the Nether Traitor, we can just keep bringing stuff back. And Eudora Grave Gardener, 4 and a green for a 5/5. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may return it to the battlefield face down under its owner's control. It's a forest land. We have 1 Time Recursions, which is recover, 2 and a black, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand, but we draw a card. Road of Return. Choose 1, return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand, or put your commander in your hand from the command zone if it gets too expensive. Treasured Find, black and green, return target card from your graveyard to your hand and then exile this. And Unearth. Single black, return target creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, so we can return our commander if we can't afford to play it anymore. Now we need to make tokens for the sacrifice. Cloakwood Hermit is a background. Commander creatures you own have at the beginning of your end step, if a creature card was put into your graveyard from anywhere this turn, create 2 1/1 green squirrels that are tapped. Mirror's Sire, 2 mana artifact creature. When it dies, create a 1/1 colourless Mirror artifact creature token. Nimblewright Schematic. When it enters the battlefield or is put into a graveyard, create a 1/1 colourless construct artifact creature token. Open the Graves, an enchantment that whenever a non-token creature you control dies, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token, constantly filling up our board for more sacrificing. Farika, God of Affliction, 1 black green, for a legendary enchantment creature god. Indestructible, as long as your devotion to black and green is less than 7, it's not a creature. However, for black and green, exile target creature card from a graveyard. Its owner puts a 1/1 black and green snake enchantment creature token with Death Touch onto the battlefield. So that is a enchantment and a creature. Rot Widow pack, 2 black green. For 3 black green, exile a creature card from your graveyard and make a 1/2 green spider creature token with reach, then each opponent loses 1 life for each spider we control. Tireless Provisioner, 2 and a green, has landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under control, make a food or treasure token. Turn Timber Sower, 2 and a green. Whenever 1 or more lands are put into the graveyard from anywhere, create a 0/1 green plant creature token. And for green, sacrifice 3 creatures, return target land from your graveyard to your hand. Undercity Scrounger counts as an artifact and a creature, but for tap, create a treasure token and only if a creature died this turn. And Workshop Warchief. It's a 5/3 with trample, but when it enters the battlefield we gain 3 life, and when it dies we make a 4/4 Rhino Warrior creature token, but it also has Blitz. We can cast it for its Blitz cost, it gains haste, and when it dies, draw a card. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Now we need to help the Witch's Brew. Ichor Wellspring. When it enters the battlefield or is put into a graveyard, we draw a card. Pretty good card draw. However, the next 2 are the more important ones. Liquid Metal Coating. Target permanent becomes an artifact in addition to its other types. So if we have a land, we want to make it an artifact, that counts for 2. If we have a creature that's not an artifact, we can make it, and again it counts for 2 of those criteria. And Liquid Metal Torque is a mana rock that does the same thing. But we need the houses of the witches. So our mana base is Gingerbread Cabin. When it enters the battlefield tapped, unless you control 3 or more other forests. When it enters the battlefield untapped, we make a food token. We have the Witch's Clinic. Add colourless, or for 2 and tap, target commander gains lifelink till end of turn. And the Witch's Cottage. Adds for black. It enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 3 or more other swamps. When the Witch's Cottage enters the battlefield untapped, you may put target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. And we round out with 16 forests and 15 swamps. As you can see, the deck list here, it is a little bit more expensive than our usual budget brews, but it is all thematic to the Halloween season. It is still under $45, which is the price of a pre-con, so it is kind of budget still. But otherwise, what's your thoughts? What would you add in? There's a few cards I'd definitely change and put in here to make it more powerful, but it pushes the budget quite high. Otherwise, let us know what you do. Subscribe to the channel, share it around. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Take care and enjoy Halloween.